Hello there, good afternoon, and welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana here on Metro TV with me. That's what the Krikudan. So we're live on DSTV channel 277 and also across all our social media platforms at Metro TV Ghana. But first, we'll take a look at some of the stories we have for you this afternoon, and these are the headlines. On the 3 Agenda 111 hospitals reported to be completed by the SWAL NPP administration, are they indeed completed and awaiting operationalization? We'll tell you more in this bulletin. Also coming in, frantic calls made for increased efforts in the management of plastic waste in the country as the Ministry or the Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, emphasizes the establishment of a circular economy for this, and that will be coming up in this bulletin. And also we'll tell you about the National Economic Forum, where business is on edge this afternoon as we highlight some topical issues, including the cocoa sector being discussed at the National Economic Dialogue. So the details of these stories and many more coming up this afternoon. Hello again, and this is Ghana Month here on Metro TV. I am Desmond Okrekudan. So now the Minister of Health, Kwabena Mensah Kando, has revealed that the government of Ghana requires an additional over 100 million Ghana cedis to complete each of the Agenda 111 hospital projects, which were hastily commissioned by the previous administration on December 5, 2024. During his visit to the site at Treda in the Echumakwama municipality and the Kokobing in the Oforikrom municipality of the Ashanti region, he expressed disappointment while assuring that the government is committed to completing the project and recruiting staff to operationalize the hospitals.
The Agenda 111 project, initiated by former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, aims to construct 111 hospitals across Ghana, including district, specialized and regional hospitals. While stakeholders in the health sector believe the project's vision is commendable, the current state of the hospitals, including the one located at Trede in the Ashanti region, highlights the need for careful planning and execution to ensure that these critical healthcare facilities are completed and fully functional. Speaking to journalists after touring the facilities in the Ashanti region on Monday, March 3, 2025, the Health Minister, Kwabena Mensah Kando, stressed the urgent need for government to secure the necessary funding to complete the Trede, Oforikrom and other Agenda 111 projects.
Maybe I can be patient. I are for Uncle Bia, Dr. Pony, but the OT and Intesa. Contractors of Peda Hydromaca. And that's the Macron. You are the who no crown in Pancotuga. You will do a nibble who ye, and the Macatron. There will be a who no question. I also be a mine. No cre, a back of a yemi. We better TV so no time radios, no bonus three maca, and it's in the original. Magana Nibia, a buying is a John Dramani Mahama buying it. You are catching and say, we should move Ghanaians along. The area be a yemi, to be a hubby, to be a hunu crew, anything you can have.
The SWAL NPP administration has denied the lack of completion for all 111 facilities, claiming 3 are fully completed, including the Trede Hospital, which has been inspected by the Health Minister.
Now, the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, Richard Ahiagba, earlier in an interaction on Metro TV with Sandro Fosu, highlighted the party's progress in the Agenda 111 hospital project, stating that 3 hospitals were completed under the NPP government, though they were not made operational before the administration change. Let's take a listen to him.
An economy that is akin to a crime scene. Nothing could be further from the truth. He inherited a growing economy that records even pronouncements from the IMF and the World Bank indicates that it was economy on a path of growth. And if you see all the macroeconomic indicators, indicators, they were pointing in a positive direction.
Three out of 111.
Yes, 3 of the, so you need to, you see, that's one of the misinformation His Excellency put out again today. That's a misinformation. Now,
what are the 3? Can you name the 3?
Yes. So let me just set this up for you. You remember that in 2017, when we came to office, we had to operationalize UGMC.
Right.
The hospital was built when they were in office, but we came to operationalize it. There's a difference between the building phase and the operationalization. Right now, as we speak, the hospital in Achuma, Kwahuma in Ashanti region, that's the first Agenda 111 hospital that was commissioned. That's the one the president himself commissioned in Trede. That hospital is complete and was commissioned on the 5th of December. There's another one in Kokobin in Ofurikrum district. That one has also been completed. In Ahanta West, Bokro, that also is completed. Now,
are they operational?
Three of them are completed. The operationalization would be done if we were in government.
Right.
We commissioned this on the 5th of December. The business of making those hospitals operational are President Mahama's responsibility.
Right.
Just as it was our responsibility to operationalize the UGMC for them, and they claim all throughout our 8 years that they built UGMC, We operationalized it.
Right.
But you didn't hear us come to say that the hospital was not operationalized. We said that it was our job.
Right.
We operationalized it. Same now, it is his job to go and operationalize it. The hospital is built, it's been resourced. He should get human hospital operational teams in there, nurses, administrators to run the hospital.
Right.
That is his responsibility, not Akufo-Addo, who is no longer the president of this country.
Well, we're going to stay on this as we engage our Ashanti regional correspondent, Abdul Basit Suleiman. Well, he's been on tour with the health minister as they went to the Trede Government Hospital in Joseph for some updates on this. Basit, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, per your observation, how would you describe the level of completion of the Trede Hospital?
Yeah, Desmond, good afternoon and good afternoon to our viewers. Yes, I visited 2 of the 3 commission Agenda 111 projects. 2 is located within the Ashanti region, which is Achuma Kwahuma, which was the symbolic one that was the president cut short for. And from there too, I also visited Apiedu Kokobe in the Ofurikrum municipality. Judging from the physical structure, as a layman, you would think the project has been completed, but when you enter into the facility, you realize that there are still construction going on within these two facilities. You see masons and other artisans still undergoing some kind of work within these facilities. The mortuary, the laboratories, and other equipment has not been installed, and some of them that has been installed too and have not been functioning ever since it was commissioned on the 5th of December.
So I just want to get something clear, Basit. The completion, the structure itself is there, but as some members of the past government talk about operationalization, the equipment that are supposed to work or help make the hospital function are not exactly available. Is that what you're saying?
There are some available because I saw beds, hospital beds, and there are some other equipments like other equipments that are supposed to be used in the hospital. Okay. But the majority of the equipment are not in. I don't know if they are stored somewhere, but they are not in the facility. Okay. And even interacting with the consultants, you realize that the facility is not up to 100% complete because they made us understand that generally you can classify it as 95% complete in terms of the structure, in terms of the storing of equipment. they told us it's around 95%. And he also indicated that they have not handed over the facility to government yet.
Okay.
So people will ask, how come it was commissioned? This is where the arguments lie, because looking at the research project has to be handed over to government, because there will be some follow-ups of maintenance and even guarantee as to the number of years this facility will be. So far as it has not been handed over to government, it will be difficult for government to even tax these contractors as to how the guarantee on the project. So I can say for a fact that yes, there are beautiful structures, but it's not operationalized.
All right. Talk to us about the posture of the minister as he went around the facilities. What were some of the things that he was saying, I mean, even beyond the cameras?
Yes, according to the minister, there are a lot of things that he didn't want to make it public, but he clearly, the commissioning, the hasty commission of the project was purely political by the ex-administration, just to score political points. He also indicated that the administration, the amount of money that has been invested into the project should have done more than what we are seeing within the facilities. Because currently, especially with the Achimaka one, he indicated that the briefing that he got from the consultant is that the facility will need about 100 million Ghana cedis before it will be fully completed. Same as the Oforikrom one. So the TWIS project needs about 200 million Ghana cedis to be completed and operationalized.
Okay. Bassett, thank you very much for talking to us. Abdul Bassett Suleiman is our Ashanti regional correspondent, giving us some details with respect to the health minister's tour of some of the facilities of the Agenda 111 project in the Ashanti region. Well, another one of these 3 Agenda 111 hospitals purported to have been completed by the SWAL NPP government is the Ahanta West Government Hospital. My colleague Evans has visited the site this morning and was met with resistance by workers on the site as he demanded and to meet with a consultant, and that got a few things heated there. And let's speak to him as he joins us on the. Hello, Evans. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us what happened at the hospital this morning.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, Evans.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. I'm asking that what happened when you visited the facility this morning?
Okay, thank you for the question. I went there this morning to verify how the work is going. When I went there, I think it's about 98% done. And it has left the small things with their touches, what they are doing there. Feel like their posts are there, but it's not only the ECG to put into the everything, the light is so that they can use the facility.
Okay, so you're saying that it is 98% completed. Were you able to speak to the main consultant, the main person in charge at the facility?
Portrait. When I went there, I would try to see him, but he was not around. I would tell him that when you come, they say he has doing something, somewhere, so I couldn't get in to just talk to him. But I met some lady. Why he was just telling me that all the workers have gone. He left only 18 people where he left there, where they are working, where they are doing housework, particularly things there.
Okay. I would also want to know, for the people in the area, what they make of the facility and how it's being left there. What have they been saying to you?
I spoke to a certain man, but he told me that you don't want to come to the television. So he just literally said, even where they are, they need the facility, because if someone gets sick, unless they take the person to regional hospital, which is Efia Kwanta, it's too far from India, and I found that too. They are constructing the road because of that traffic is on that stretch. So it affects them. So they are praying to government to just complete that facility.
Okay. Thank you very much, Evans Annan, giving us some insight into what is happening at Ahanta West with the Ahanta West Government Hospital as part of the Agenda 111 project. As we're focusing on this afternoon, we're going to be speaking to the Executive Director for the African Center for Health Policy Research and Analysis, Dr. Thomas Anaba, and he joins us on phone now. If he's on there. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for joining us here on Metro TV. So working the lines to connect with Dr. Thomas Anaba to talk to us about, the perspective of, how these projects are going. The S4 NPP government says that they were done. Of course, we know that on the 5th of December 2024, these projects were commissioned, and they're accusing this particular government of not operationalizing these facilities that have been put up, and that is what we are focusing on. Earlier, we went to the Ashanti region where we spoke to Abdulbasir Suleiman, our regional correspondent, who told us what happened on tour with the health minister yesterday at Trede, and also Atuma in Wabieja, and so we'll keep on with that. We're taking a break now. While we come back, we'll delve some more right here on the show. Please stay with us.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Attention all farmers, are you ready to take your crops to the next level? Introducing 3 effective organic composts that will revolutionize your farming practices. ACAP, KCAP and Iricop brings to you the ultimate solution for your fertilizer needs. Introducing the ACAP Grade A, KCAP Equiafua Jinkwa, and the Iricop with cocoa blends, palm blend and mulch. These are made from locally sourced municipal solid waste, and these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP, and Iricop organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by COCOBOD, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Welcome back from the program. This is Good Afternoon Ghana here on Metro TV. I am Desmond Okrekudan. So we're live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana and also on DSTV channel 277. Now we'll be speaking to Ernest Adade. He's a member of the NPP communications team via Zoom on some of these projects. As yesterday we had the health minister go on a tour in the Ashanti region. So if he's on there, Ernest, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time here on Good Afternoon Ghana. Hello, Ernest. Okay, so we're still working to get Ernest Adade on the Zoom platform so we can speak to him about the issues popping up with respect to the Agenda 111 project. So let's try again and get him on. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chief. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for joining us here of the program. Now, the health minister is saying that the commissioned hospital under the Agenda 111 requires over 100 million cedis to get them to be operational. You have been calling for the facilities to be operational. This, he says, we need about 100 million Ghana cedis and even more to get it running. What do you make of that? Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Are you able to hear me? Okay, I think we've lost him on there. But of course, I was asking him as part of the NPP communications team why it is so that the health minister is saying that we need about 100 million cedis to get these facilities to function. But what do you make of these? Of course, you can log on to our website, www.metrotvonline.com, also our Facebook page, Metro TV Ghana, and give us all your thoughts on there. And of course, on X also, you can join us on there with your statements, and we'll definitely be getting them as we try to connect with Ernest Adade once more. He's a member of the NPP communications team. We'll talk to him about the Agenda 111 project. We've already gone to the Ashanti region and also to Ahanta West. Well, let's connect with Mr. Adede once more. Hello, sir. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Great. Good to have you back. Now, the minister says that the government needs about over 100 million Ghana cedis to operationalize these facilities that were commissioned last year. Why do we need more money to do so if everything was done and commissioned?
Thank you very much, my brother, and good afternoon to you and all your viewers across the world. Why would anyone need 100 million US dollars to complete the projects, at least the 3 that have already been completed and commissioned? I am also surprised, and I have said about this that it's simply propaganda, government propaganda. Why am I saying that? Government propaganda because, look, when the NPP government took office in 2017, you heard the NDC make a lot of noise about the University of Ghana Medical Center and why the government of Ghana then, which was the Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government, should have to go and look for money and come and complete the University of Ghana Medical Center for it to be usable. By then, as at the time they were calling for the center to be operationalized, they had already commissioned it. But the government had to go and look for an additional $265 million to come and do the phase 2 before the University of Ghana Medical Center became fully operational. So why were they calling for why did they have to commission it if the place is not fully commissioned or fully operational or we haven't put people in there as they are trying to compare these current hospitals now? The hospitals were completed and commissioned. There are 2 things that happen. After the building has been commissioned, they will have to allow the contractor to bring in the equipment that are required for the hospital to become a full-fledged hospital. I can tell you on authority that the hospitals that the NDC had said that they constructed within their tenure between 2012 and 2016, Bank Hospital was not operational. It took some years before it became operational, after they left office and they had commissioned. So all I'm trying to say is that, yes, these hospitals have been constructed and commissioned. There may have to be a few other works that will have to be done, and then we put people in there. But ask yourself, if these hospitals are actually needed, go and check the Agenda 111 hospital. People have forgotten what occasioned the building of these hospitals we have come to nickname the Agenda 111 hospitals. They were rather the Ghana Priority Health Infrastructure Projects. And this Ghana Priority Health Infrastructure Projects came as a result of COVID. When COVID struck, we realized that we were not actually prepared to be able to take care of the people who are going to be getting these diseases. And that is why we had to construct hospitals in virtually every district that we are in. All the districts and the 6 new regions. So, my brother, whatever is being done now, the NDC is speaking as though without some roads being constructed, asphalt being put on roads, when you send people into these hospitals, the people will not, we cannot take care of them. These are hospitals that are fully completed and commissioned. If the NDC believes in the health of these people, the people of Ghana, why are we sacking health workers and the midwives and nurses association will have to come to threaten government before government rescinded its decision to sack the nurses? When you have hospitals you are claiming will have to be operational. It just doesn't make sense. Look, I heard the finance minister the last time saying that we are no longer going to use oil money to complete these Agenda 111 hospitals. What is more important than the health of the people of Ghana? I don't know what is more important to us than the health of our people.
Okay,
We are trying to do propaganda and play politics with everything, including the health of the people. The choice we have made.
But I can tell your viewers
connect with you
all over the world
time.
When the NPP
can you hear me?
office,
Okay, I think.
I can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm asking that we'd have to end it here. Definitely at 7 p.m. on Newsnight, we'll get back to you for more on this. Right. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Ernest Adade is a member of the NPP's communications team and speaking to us about what his thoughts are on what the minister has been saying on his story. You're still watching Good Afternoon Ghana. We're taking a break. I am Desmond Okreku. When we come back, my colleague Akosie Friye will be here to bring you the big business edge of the show. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back shortly.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Michelle, fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Choco toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Choco toothpaste, Sankofa.
Yenchi, Kel Choco toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
Metro TV presents a new dating reality show.
Tell me, what's the favorite part of my body, and can you describe it with a word?
Table of Love.
Do you have what it takes to make it to the table of love?
My first heartbreak. Let me tell you. So I went somewhere to sit, and I met goats chewing grass. I sat right in front of the goats. and I asked it, have you ever felt heartbroken before?
Touching, romancing, you take me there, I take you there.
If you expect me to be an angel in your life, you must first create heaven for me. Angels don't live in hell.
Many girls will say touching when you kiss me on the forehead, please. For me, when money touches my palm, I become so wet.
Damn!
In today's interconnected and interdependent world, nations and international businesses are increasingly appreciating the need to foster greater trade relations.
Get the inside views, vital information, trends and analysis on emerging trade giants in Ghana and beyond. International Trade Focus, the global television trade showcase, transcending barriers in creativity and innovation.
International Trade Focus has been developed to serve as your reliable platform for international business connections and trade events. Join me, Anna Spio, as I bring you a whole menu of international trade activities.
International Trade Focus, your timely business hub. International Trade Focus is brought to you by GOL, ADB, Pediatric Valley Resorts and Public Elegance. International Trade Focus is brought to you by GOL, ADB, Pediatric Valley Resorts and Public Elegance.
Right, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. So I'm sure a lot of you may be wondering how come I'm here this afternoon. Well, I'm going to introduce the show to you, and I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'll have the producer also come in to be telling you about what's going to happen right every Tuesday and every Thursday afternoon after the midday news. So from 1:30 in the afternoon to 12:30 in the afternoon to 2 p.m. in the afternoon, we'll be bringing you a specialized show on business. What are you thinking about in the world of business? Is it about transport? Is it about aviation? Is it about employment? Is it about economics, about political economy, agriculture, agribusiness, everything that you can think of within the agricultural sector, the subsectors, and how we will be able to improve generally the economy. We'll come to the macro economy as well, all the macroeconomic indicators, and a lot of people will ask you, how will this reflect in our pocket? So we'll be doing the micro as well. So today I'm here to introduce the show to you, and we'll still go to the Accra International Conference Center to be bringing you snippets of what's happening at the National Economic Dialogue, of course, which is convened by His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama. So this will be called Business Edge on Good Afternoon Ghana. And so it's part of the midday news and the afternoon programming of Metro TV. In this month of March, of course, which is the Ghana month, you will see a lot of new dimensions, a lot of new activities coming your way live from Metro TV here. So wherever you are, you don't want to change your dial. You don't want to take your remote and tune away, because you're going to be seeing a lot more upscaled programming. And that's how come we are coming your way live this afternoon. In a short while, I'm going to be having the producer or the lead producer for the Business Edge on Good Afternoon Ghana talking to us about how the segmentation will be. What details are we to expect? What kind of interviews are we going to look at? If you get to the Forex, will this place be your go-to place for your forex? So how the city is performing against the major currencies of the world economy, the gold trading and the commodities and so on and so forth. We'll be talking to you about all of that. So this is still Good Afternoon Ghana. Don't get it twisted, but it is Business Edge, and that's where our focus is. We'll be getting into the banking industry. We'll be asking the hard questions as well. And whatever it is you would want to run with us, for the corporate entities, for the business leaders, for the entrepreneurs, for those who are enthusiastic about data and everything in the world of business, you want to stick and stay with us right here on Business Edge on Good Afternoon Ghana, the Business Edge. So we'll begin by telling you what exactly happened this morning on Good Morning Ghana about the National Economic Dialogue, and then we'll get straight into the rest of the programming.
You don't give money to people who are doing importation against those who are doing production, because most of the companies that they funded, most of them were importing. They were importing from outside. It means that they are rather creating jobs for other people. The only thing they do is to get salesmen to go around and do sales. If they were manufacturing things in Ghana, some of us would have been very, very happy. But I don't think that that type of investment they did was correct. For instance, JM is saying that they are going to ensure that 30,000 youths are trained in agriculture so that they will produce enough to take away, to reduce the importations that we do on food products. NPP had a lot of millions for planting for food and jobs. Meanwhile, we are importing onions, we are importing tomatoes, we are importing several things. Where did the planting for food money go? It means that it was not prudently used. It means that there was weak governance, there was weak controls of the system, there was no proper monitoring to ensure that we had a benefit of this planting for food for jobs, planting for food and jobs. A lot of silos were built, and I have one in my constituency, Garu. There's a big silo there that the roof is almost ripping off now. They have never stocked anything there. They have never stocked anything because they have not given the farmers the needed fertilizers. Because some of the fertilizers that they even brought to help them, you heard the stories, some of them were smuggled out of the country. And the minister himself came to tell us that, oh, the donkeys were moving alone. And you see, the donkey smuggling fertilizer out.
The economic dialogue is maybe not an afterthought, but is a window dressing, all right, to kind of elicit a certain participation, okay, which then will lead to a certain sharing of ownership to say that we developed this together. If it's not working, that we should do so and so. So for me, it's a fall design that they are trying to make to say that if things go wrong, we just fall on that and say, well, this is what we all designed and all of that. Because the reason I say that to you is that the problems to our economy, they are known. Nothing will be said from the National Economic Dialogue that you don't know, that I don't know. That our economy fundamentally requires a structural reform. Well, it's been known since ages, since we were babies. You understand? These are things. There are some ideas that we're hearing from there that have been proposed, that growth with depth. And if you're growing with depth means essentially just adding value to the things that we're producing and trying to drive a production-based economy. These are solutions that are known. What else?
Well, so you just saw Dr. Anaba speaking on the health issues and the Agenda 111 issues, of course, with the National Communications Director of the NPP also speaking on the same issue. We'll get back to some of these things in the course of our programming. But for now, President John Dramani Mahama has called on Ghanaians to rally behind the reset agenda, emphasizing the collective action that it is crucial to steering the economy toward recovery and sustainable growth. So when he was speaking at the launch as of yesterday at the National Economic Forum, which is 3rd of March, yesterday, 3rd of March 2025, President Mahama explained that the purpose of the dialogue is not to just discuss the economic challenges, but to find very practical solutions and to also establish a progressive path for the country's financial future.
Or the fulfillment of a campaign promise. It is a decisive step in our collective responsibility to reset Ghana's economy, restore confidence, and build the prosperous future we all envision. Today we are here to begin the process of engaging in honest, solution-driven discussions about the challenges we face and the opportunities before us. Our nation stands at a pivotal moment, and the choices we make now will determine the trajectory of our economy for generations to come. As President, I have the honor of leading the conversation on the theme, Resetting Ghana, Building the Economy We Want Together. This theme reflects our shared commitment to creating an economy that is resilient, inclusive, and built on sustainable growth. It is an invitation to all stakeholders to contribute their expertise, ideas, and dedication to this national effort. Ghana is at a critical crossroads in its economic development. The challenges before us are stark, and the economic distress we face are undeniable. However, our collective resilience, ingenuity, and determination have always been the driving force of our nation's progress. We are not here merely to recount our struggles, nor are we here to resign ourselves to economic stagnation. We are here to seek solutions, to adopt strategies that will put us on a sustainable growth trajectory, and to ensure that we build an economy that works for every Ghanaian. For me, this is not just another policy discussion. It is an urgent call to action. A crucial moment for us as stakeholders to unite with purpose and resolve the challenges that face us. We've gathered here to create a powerful platform where government officials, policymakers, business leaders, economists, industry experts, development partners, and other key figures come together to shape the future of our nation.
So what we are doing right now is giving you a summary of what happened yesterday at the National Economic Dialogue 2025, convened by His Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama. And I've told you earlier on that this is a discussion program. Pretty shortly, we are going to have our producer come in to explain to us how the entire program is going to go. Today is just an introduction. And because of what has happened yesterday, we are bringing you a roundup of yesterday's activities. So we had the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress yesterday. We were able to speak to him, and he also condemned the Akufo-Addo administration of abysmal performance and maladministration of the financial status of the economy, as has been called by his boss, or the President of the country, John Dramani Mahama, and also the Finance Minister. He says he's very hopeful about the prospects of the economy with Mahama in charge.
Mahama made a comment, and the comment, I believe that people have sunk it in their hearts. He said that every single city will be utilized judiciously and also tangibly. What do you make of it? How are we going to supervise that?
It's definitely a challenge because we're talking about somehow a nation that for decades have allowed too much inefficiency and have allowed individuals to simply get away, with doing things that is not always in the interest of the country. President Mahama clearly cannot be in every corner to ensure that things are done that well. But what he can do as a leader is to ensure that anytime there are clear evidences of people not doing what they ought to do, the rights, what you call penalties, are brought to bear, and those who are doing what is right are encouraged. And with that, people then see there's an incentive for doing what is good and there's a penalty for doing what is bad. It's not easy. As a president, he cannot be in every corner to ensure things are done well, but that's why you have to have people who can also be equally committed to help in order to ensure that we can get it done. There's no way an African economy is going to be able to reset and go into the growth, the advanced level we want to go without tackling the issue of agriculture and agribusiness. There again is an area where we need to have a clear departure. I think sometimes we've been going around in circles, and that is happening because we are not identifying the real way in which the transformation can happen. And that, in my view, it's about making sure we put together, should I call it, the demand that we have for agricultural produce, and then match that demand with supply. Often we just focus so much on supply without taking care of the demand, and that always brings about a problem. Because the real problem of Ghana is not the lack of capacity to get things done, but the fact that people are not seeing what you call the incentivization that will ensure that income levels for the farmers are high, profit levels for the farmers are high, and the fact that when I produce, there are clear systems in place to ensure that what I produce reaches the end point without too many worries.
Talking to us about his impressions and how hopeful he is about the President John Mahama administration when it comes to the economy. Now, after the program, and I'm going to go to the screen pretty shortly, I'll be talking to you about the presentation of the Honorable Ato Forson and how he painted the picture of the economy, the actual state of the economy. If we get the opportunity, we'll play to you what the MPP also says based on the President's presentation of the State of the Nation address. What they also says is the true state of the nation. But we'll come back to the National Economic Dialogue. And after the presentations had been done, we got the opportunity to speak to the President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Mr. Joseph Obeng, who strongly backed President Mahama's commitment to ensuring economic stability, applauding his focus on judiciously utilizing every cedi spent under his administration. Well, he commended John Dramani Mahama for prioritizing value for money and cutting costs measures as part of efforts to foster economic growth.
Value for money. That's why he was talking about our procurement system and all that, and I agree with him. With regard to Cocoa Board and ECG and all that, they are all the problem that they are encountering is the procurement system that is not helping those state institutions. So it's very important that we rationalize our expenditure so that we do not overprice expenditure. We ensure value for money so that the taxes that we pay will not be in vain, and that it will be put in a good use. When it is done, it is also a way of enhancing on our revenue, because it means that the revenue that we have gotten is not being misused, and then we can have a chunk of it to develop the nation. Charity begins at home. Look at what he has started. He is supposed to leave a legacy. From what he's doing, I can see that he's very serious to redeem the economy of the country. And so he's on the right footing, and then because he sees that he is very careful, he's been to government before, he made his mistakes, and then he stayed out of government and watched, and now he's come back. It means that he's taking advantage to correct whatever mistake that was, and then also try to formulate policies that will help him redeem himself and also create a legacy for himself.
Forgive me on that. Let me come back to this one. You just saw the president of GUTA. Now, the finance minister, Honorable Dr. Kisela Ato Forson, has expressed confidence that the country has potential to reset the economy from its current state, provided there is the discipline in the financial practices. We'll come back and tell him that that will be his action, and that will be his responsibility. He, together with the Bank of Ghana, have to ensure fiscal discipline on the part of all the state-owned enterprises and so on and so forth. So, whilst he was speaking at the National Economic Dialogue yesterday, the finance minister emphasized the importance of fiscal responsibility and commitment to sustainable economic policies, while noting that while Ghana is currently facing significant economic difficulties, a concerted effort towards fiscal discipline could pave the way for necessary recovery and growth.
It is with great anticipation that we embark on this first national economic dialogue in over a decade, a pivotal moment in our national history. This dialogue is not only a significant and defining moment, but it's also an important reenactment of our history when the nation assembled at a similar forum in Senchi some 10 years ago. Today, we set out to attempt to resolve economic puzzle of much greater magnitude and scale than those that confronted us some 10 years ago. This dialogue is therefore an opportunity to reflect on our economic reality, address the pressing challenges, and chart a course towards a more prosperous future for our citizens. It is my hope and prayer that the lessons that will emerge from these conversations will guide our steps and that we may not repeat the mistakes of recent past. In this time of crisis, it is very imperative that we acknowledge the significant toll that has been borne by every Ghanaian, particularly the poor, from severe currency depreciation to hyperinflation, from haircuts to steep tax increases, from rising inflation, from rising fuel costs to rising electricity prices, and very increasing interest rates. Fellow countrymen and women, the economic crisis isn't over. Indeed, the full length of our current crisis is still unraveling by the day. The situation requires significant sacrifice from all of us to stem the bleeding and place our economy back on the right trajectory. We can reset our economy. We can do this. We just have to be disciplined and understand that the short-term benefits we gain today has a long-term consequences on our future. Let's do this for Mother Ghana.
So you heard the Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Kisel Latifosin, talk to us. That's a brief or snap out of what he had actually presented to us at the Economic Forum yesterday. I'm going to give you a snapshot of what he presented to us, and we'll go through briefly. So if we can have the PowerPoint of what he did for us yesterday at the National Economic Dialogue. So what's happening today at the center is that, the Accra International Conference Center, is that plenary sessions are currently going on under various topics that the Finance Minister presented on the floor of the Accra International Conference Center yesterday. So it is expected that each of the plenary sessions will go through these ones, those that are on agric, those that are on macroeconomic indicators, those that are on microeconomic indicators, those that are on industrialization, those that are on a concerted effort of employment creation. And all put together improve upon the GDP, GNP, and so on and so forth of the country? How are we going to ensure that the cedi matches up strongly against the dollar, strongly against the pound, strongly against the major foreign currencies? That's what's actually happening today. So what we have done on the show for you from 12:30 this afternoon is that we have played for you some bites, including that of the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, of what he thinks and how he thinks of the economy as badly managed. We have listened also to the Finance Minister briefly telling us about how bleak the economy had been managed. So I would run you through his pointers and how he explained them. And then wherever you are watching us from, you can make your own informed decision. When we finish and we have some time, maybe you would go into one or two discussions on the show. I told you that today is just an introduction of the business show. And when we come back next week, we'll be doing the budget, of course. We're expecting Honorable Kese Latofosin. And mind you, the National Economic Dialogue, which is happening currently, is pragmatically based on the fact that there are expectations, there are anticipations of the fact that what is being discussed will find its way into the budget. So yesterday, I saw some people that I know who have been part of the workings of the budget from time immemorial, those who sit and look at the details of the budget from the Finance Ministry. I saw the head of the World Bank unit at the Finance Ministry and lots of the heads of the units there. And they had to leave us immediately the opening session was done, so they could go back into the ministry and begin the preparation and also wait for the input from the committees that have been set at the National Economic Dialogue. So I'll come to the presentation of Honorable Minister for Finance, Kese Latofosin. And like I said, we are expecting him to be presenting the budget for us on the 11th of March 2022. And there is a breaking news coming in here. I'll do that for you when I'm done with this video wall. It says the NCSSMAG endorses Gold Board to ensure fair pricing for small-scale miners. That's the National Concerned Small-Scale Miners Association of Ghana, when you hear that. But let me come to the National Economic Dialogue, which began yesterday. So the outline, as Honorable Kese Latofosin presented to us, was on economic growth, long-term, and fiscal challenges to support. So you may want to go to the next one. He had started his argument by telling us that maybe I should use the political angle of it. The NPP had actually mismanaged the economy, and it was not a base of exogenous factors as has been painted by previous managers of the economy. All we had heard was that the impact of COVID, the impact of the Russian-Ukrainian war, the impact of the global downsizing of global economy and so on and so forth has affected the Ghanaian economy. Some of us have believed that, yes, based on the structure of the economy, we couldn't have done much. The managers of the economy couldn't have done much. But Latofosin sought to explain to us and tell Ghanaians that no, it was not the impact of COVID, not the impact of Russian-Ukrainian war. They were part of the problems. But the economy has started suffering already 2017, 2018, 2019, before the incoming of COVID. So we'll see that as he presents that here. So economic growth, he says the causes of the 2022 macroeconomic crisis can be traced well before COVID-19 and the deterioration of the global economic conditions. When these shocks struck, the Ghanaian economy was already in precarious state. So this is how he puts it, and he tried to explain it. That's exactly what I've done to you. Right, so that's exactly what I've done. I've tried to explain to you. So he goes on to explain that Ghana has experienced strong growth since the year 2000. The year 2000, President Kufuor was in charge. And he says that right when President Kufuor took charge, I mean, all activities towards growth of the economy. You remember HIPIC. Kufuor got us the HIPIC, and so there were a lot of economic reliefs. A lot of infrastructure were built. I remember the HIPIC projects and so on and so forth, which were dotted around the country. So because of the reliefs, we had the opportunity to now expand our economy. We had the opportunity to get to Fitch, which had downgraded our economy for very long times, now to begin to rethink their research and their grading of the country Ghana. So you'll see the trend here, and he begins from the year 2001. We come to 2006, where there was a strong growth. Now, between 2006 and 2011, that was the second term of President John Agyekum Kufuor. We saw some ups and downs in the trend, the economic trend of the economic growth. Now, in 2011, take note. In 2011, we peaked. I don't know how, he didn't go into the details of that, but those of you who have been following economics would realize that around that time, there was a coming on stream of oil. The discovery of oil in 2007, the beginning of exploration and the commercialization of oil in the country had begun around this period. In 2014, we had very good data, single digit inflation and so on and so forth. So he says, strong economic growth over the past 2 decades placed Ghana in the top 10 fastest growing countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So yes, of course, in West Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana was part of the top 10 growing countries. Between 2008 and 2019, Ghana's economy expanded by about 6.8% per year. That's some huge figures there. If you look at the general data available, above regional and global, so it's significant, like I said, very significant. Ghana here, we had 6.8% growth. And then the global average for the whole world was 4.4. And in Africa, it was 2.7, respectively. So we were actually growing. GDP per capita doubled, averaging 3% growth per year. And this data is from the Minister of Finance. We are hoping that all of these will feature in the budget, which is going to be read. Let's go to the next slide, which is going to be read 11th of March, 2025. So I told you about the oil production, which had come on stream. The exploration, the finding of it, first of all, the exploration, secondly, and then the commercialization of it. So it says, however, growth was driven by oil and mining, accompanied by debt accumulation. Take note, maybe today or in our subsequent discussions, we'll be discussing how the oil affected our agriculture, and then eventually how Galamsey is also affecting our agriculture. Now, prior to 2014, and prior to these days that we are talking about, our major base as a country had been on agriculture. Cocoa, if you remember, between 2006 and 2009, our focus was reaching 1 million metric tons of production of cocoa, and to be the best in Africa, we have always competed with our neighboring country, Ivory Coast, which is also a major producer of cocoa. And we have said that when we come together as two countries, we will be able to control the world cocoa price and the world cocoa activities, everything that happens around it, because data available currently in the cocoa sector suggests that we do about less than 10% of revenue from the entire cocoa value chain in the world. How can two major countries who are the lead producers of cocoa earn just less than 10% of the income of cocoa production across the globe? So we'll be looking at that. Oil came on stream. The entire country's focus turned to oil. Yes, it is a very good venture, but mind you that it is in the extractive sector. Some years to come, oil will finish. But if we push our strength to agri, to cocoa, we may be able to sustain the economy. So whilst we talk, those of us who are young, we are thinking about the next 10 years, next 15 years, next 30 years. What exactly is going to happen to our industry? So it says oil production began in 2011. So come back. If we go back to that previous slide, you will see 2011, where the economic growth had gone to, where we peaked to. Of course, you get it almost 15. That's it here. 2011, you find it there. So let's go to the next slide. Oil had come on and contributed steadily to economic growth, representing 5% of the GDP on average. That's also some huge news. Now, moreover, between 2013 and 2019, nearly 20% of GDP growth was directly attributed to the mining sector. Simultaneously, the growth acceleration was sustained by increasing fiscal imbalances, which fueled debt accumulation. The fiscal deficit averaged around 4% of GDP between 2008 and 2007. Public debt went from 20%. Well, let's go on. This is the premise of the fact that the economic growth was driven by oil and mining. Let's go to the next slide. And this presentation was run through by the Honorable Minister of Finance. He says, this was also him building a case for the National Economic Dialogue. Even though we had a very good economic growth over the last 2 decades, even though oil came on stream in the year 2011, growth has not translated into structural transformation and productivity. The former government promised 1 district, 1 factory. It says, according to Ato Forson, that the coming on stream of the oil, the growth in the mining sector, the growth in the entire extractive sector has not been commensurate with the structural growth of the economy. Our roads, our industrialization agenda, production agenda and everything has not grown in requisite measurements with that of the things we see or the growth we see on paper. So he says there has been limited progress in structural transformation, with the agricultural sector still representing 1/5 of the GDP and 1/3 of the labor force. So summary is that contrary to the experience of advanced economies, the release of workers from agriculture has been absorbed mainly by low productivity services such as hospitality and wholesale and retail trade, comprising 1/4 of the labor force. Here again, this is a point that the economists, Professor Bob Watson, Professor Texan, and all the professors that we know have been talking about, that our labor force, when they were taken from agric, or in every economic growth, you need to start from the basics, which is agriculture. Now you graduate to industrialization, where you begin to add value to the agricultural production. So if you are producing maize, for example, you do the maize farming, you get people to get onto the maize farming. Your first activity is to get mechanized, get the maize farming mechanized, so that you can produce more. You can get more yield per acreage, per the sectors or hectares, and so on and so forth. When you finish that and you do harvesting, you need to be able to add value. If you want to mine bauxite, when you get the stones, you need to be able to add value. If you want to produce cocoa, when you finish the production, you need to be able to add value. Don't just export. So we do industrialization. And when we do the industrialization, we get a lot more people to come in and work. And that's where the labor force will go. That's their next level in the growth of, or in the development ladder. So right from agric, you get into industrialization, you expand your economy, then you get to the service sector. But what's happening in Africa? What's happening in Ghana? What's happening here is that we have jumped from the agric, we have jumped from the industrialization, we don't have jobs, and people are getting to work in the telecommunication sectors, in the hotels, in the hospitality sectors. Where are the jobs? How do we create jobs as a country? And that's how come the previous slide talks about the structure of the economy. And this is what we've been telling the governments. This is what we've been telling the politicians. This is what we've been telling everybody. That put your focus on the creation of jobs. Create jobs for the young people of Ghana. Let them have something to do before you think about the hospitality sector. It's important anyway. It creates jobs anyway. But what do you eat? When COVID hits you, you need to import toothpick. You need to import toothbrush because you can't produce it here. And if you can't produce it here, and the person producing it in Brazil increases his price, you need to change dollars and go and buy it at a price in Brazil. And when you are coming back, you need to now change it back to your city, so your city will still rise. It will still not be able to perform against the dollar. These are things our politicians know. And this is what Ato Forson is talking about. Anyway, these are things they have been talking about all the time. All the professors of the economy talk about all the time, and these are things we're expecting the governments to be able to do. And this is what we are expecting the National Economic Dialogue to be discussing. Of course, they have set the tone, they have set the pace. We are expecting them to go on from there. Let's see the next slide, what Ato Forson talks about. Let's see it. He says, Ghana's export basket has remained concentrated in simple products with low value added. And that's what I spoke about. Cocoa is exported raw. We have established Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation since 2019, but we are still having Ghana Bauxite Company Limited exporting raw stones. When you go to Takoradi Port now, you will see drones of stones being exported. Valco is there. What percentage, even Ghana Bauxite itself, what percentage of the stones that are mined can be transmitted or translated into aluminium, can be processed into aluminium here in Ghana? Just imagine that we have about 5 or 6 smeltering companies in Ghana currently as we speak. Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Authority has a new chief executive officer, Lawyer Chumes Yankra. Lawyer, if you are listening to me, we're expecting you to be setting up companies because that's the mandate of the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Authority, our company, GIADEC. So imagine that we had about 6 smeltering companies in the country. And BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, and all the companies are coming to us in Ghana to supply them aluminium to produce their cars. Look at how the economy would look like. Look at how many jobs we'll be creating in the country. Look at how many or how much an amount of money we will be drawing into the country. Our politicians know this. They know what we are talking about. So it says the economy is dominated by primary products with limited value addition, which is restricted or which restricts the potential for economic diversification and growth. Ghana's top 3 exports: gold, crude oil, and cocoa beans, and products accounted for 85.1% of the country's total exports in 2024. I think this eluded me yesterday. I would have asked Samson Asaki Awingobit about it, that you are the president or the executive secretary of Importers Exporters Association of the country, and you have been the president, as far as I'm concerned, for a number of years. And you sit there, and we have gold, crude oil, and cocoa beans forming 85.1% of the total exports we have as a country. This is difficult to understand. And even the cocoa, we all know the problems and challenges that are bedeviling the cocoa industry currently. And we know, the minister had told us about, that there is a decline in the production of cocoa by over 50%. We'll get to that slide. I'm sure we have it. So, Samson, if you are watching me or if you are at the dialogue now, yesterday I bet you there, you should be concerned about this. How you would be able to do mobilization and support outgrowers, farmers, support industrialization, support the growth of the economy so that people can produce and export. We don't need to rely on only gold, cocoa, and beans. There are lots of things that we can actually expand here in the country and export. So let's go to the next slide. So the impact of growth on poverty reduction has declined. And I'm sure this is self-explanatory that if you have followed the Sustainable Development Goals, first of all was the Millennium Development Goals, MDG, which ended in 2015. Sustainable Development Goals are to end in 2025. Most of the goals, I think almost all the 17 or the 30 goals, are concerned with poverty reduction. If you look at that on the education, growth of education and so on and so forth, if you look at child support, if you look at water and sanitation, if you look at the environment, everything has to do with the reduction of poverty. And that forms the fulcrum of Sustainable Development Goals. When you go to the UN, that is their entire focus. But that's not what the economy is supporting. It says the impact of the growth on poverty reduction has declined. Poverty reduction paused after 2012, despite continued GDP per capita growth. So in as much as our GDP was growing, poverty reduction still didn't grow. The bottom 40% of the population saw almost no consumption growth, with consumption dropping by about 5% for the bottom line. There is a data that he put out yesterday about how Upper West and some parts of the northern region are experiencing extreme levels of poverty, extreme levels of hunger. If we get it, I'm sure. So let's see. The past gains in poverty reduction have been reversed due to high inflation and slower economic growth since 2019, structured fiscal weaknesses, and so on and so forth. Let's see the next slide. I'm sure we'll find that there. I'm sure we'll find what I am looking for about exactly. This is it. This is it. The inequalities. Income inequality has progressively worsened. Inequalities across regions persist due to lack of economic convergence, disparities in service delivery, and environmental degradation. I mean, I've worked with the Youth Employment Agency. I've concentrated on north-south migration, and I've concentrated on the issue of Kayaye also, where people think that we can only make it. I mean, that's general for everybody. People in Ghana think that we can only make it in the United States of America. We think that we can only make it in the United Kingdom. When you come to migration within the country, which GIZ has been concerned about, Youth Employment Agency has been concerned about, it's more about inequality and the strengthening of some parts of the country economically, making it more viable, and then depriving other parts of the country. This is sad. And then we talk about regional balance in the appointment of ministers. Everybody has been on the neck of President John Dramani Mahama in the appointment of ministers and chief executive of the state-owned enterprises. When they come from these places and occupy the CEO positions and that of the ministerial positions, what happens to their hometowns? Do they not look back at all? When they sit in cabinet, do they not look at the regional balance and the proportionate balancing of economic infrastructure development, of how the economic or progress will be shared if they sit and plan how they want to develop the economy? Where are roads supposed to be done? Schools that are supposed to be built, where do we build them? When we build a school in the northern part of Ghana, Bole somewhere, Savelugu somewhere, Walewale somewhere, Tumu somewhere, what are the support infrastructure that we build? If we build a school for students, do we build accommodation for teachers so that they will be comfortable enough to go there? Do we create an economy in the vicinity for them so that they will be comfortable enough to go there? When we see cows drinking from streams of river and so on and so forth, do we go there and do boreholes for them? Do we create an economy that will make even private investors want to come in there? And that's what the minister presented to us. He says inequalities across regions persist due to least Upper West. They could actually be our economic gains to neighboring countries. What do we do with them? I've been to these places, and yes, as the minister presents it, it is as bad as that. And northern regions remain above 50%. So what this means is that if you go to these parts of the world and you are working there and you are making some amount of money, your living standard and everything, or how much you are supposed to make, will not be up to even about 50% of what I will make here for the same job. Their standards of living, the hunger rates, everything is just too high. 50% above what is happening down here. Rapid urbanization has led to rising disparities within cities. Although urban poverty rates have dropped over the last decade, the number of urban poor has not decreased. Those who are poor in the cities have not decreased. However, some people are still getting more rich. Poverty is more prevalent in lower elevation slums, where communities experience higher fertility, lower school attendance, and very low access to sanitary services and so on and so forth. So this is a graph that's showing how the inequality is. That's from the World Bank, according to the World Bank, from 1980, 1990, the year 2000, 2010, and currently in 2020. Ghana, 44%. Let's see the next slide. Let's see the next slide. So long-term trends and the urgent need for research. This is where Honorable KCL Atufosen, and we want to be seeing the things that he has put here in his budget on the 11th of March 2020. So let's see this one. It says the current growth model will not be sufficient to meet Ghana's needs and aspirations. What Ghana is going by now, and that's it according to the World Bank, Ghana needs to take advantage of its demographic dividend with 500,000 young people joining the labor force each year. Please take note of this point. Take very, very deep note of this point. Ato Forson, who is the finance minister, believes, as I believe, that 500,000 young people have to join the labor force this year or every single year. And you know why I believe that? I told you that I am excited about employment issues and young people. So I am aware that the unemployment rate in the country is around between 12 and 14%. And this is how it happens. Every year, there are between 300 and 500,000 young people that are coming out of our tertiary institutions and even secondary institutions. So for the secondary school level people, there is a need for stopgap measures, and that's why the NEIP, the Youth Employment Agency, the Ghana Enterprises Agency, and all of those youth interventional institutions are there to provide the stopgap measures until they transition into permanent employment. So yes, they may be taken care of through artisanal training, through maybe joining the forces for intermittent periods and so on and so forth. They are there. But those who have completed and are ready to get to work, and even the data we are giving are about people who are able and ready and searching. That's how the World Bank or the UN describes the unemployed. Somebody who is able, ready, and searching for a job. If you are not searching for a job, you don't qualify to be classified within the description of an unemployed person. So with the data of about 300 to 500,000 people coming out of schools every year, you should know that if we don't create 500,000 jobs as a country every year, and that cannot be created by the government alone. I support that argument that has been espoused by various finance ministers, former finance ministers, and various appointees of government, that government cannot create jobs alone. Government can rather provide a conducive environment for the private sector to thrive. So Metro TV is here, for example. I am here doing the work of Metro TV. Government can support us to expand our tentacles across the country so that we can employ more people. Government can support us or allow us the space. Look at how our taxes are and not carry soldiers and military people and policemen and come and chase us right in front of our building over our taxes or over things that they claim we haven't paid. The GRA, if you are listening to me, look at us. This is your duty to support the private sector to grow, to expand, and create more jobs for young people of Ghana. Because unemployment in the country, of course, every year and every day per every description has been classified as a threat to the national security. And so GRA, if you are listening to me or if you are watching, your duty is to make sure that Metro TV continues to be established. With the current growth model, growth will reduce to only 3.8%. That's 2.4% of the GDP per capita in less than 5 years. Now, these are an urgent need to implement ambitious reforms to reset the economy in the next 4 years. I'm happy about this, but let me come back and stay on the point one. This is what we are expecting of the sessions, plenary sessions, that are currently going on at the National Economic Dialogue at the Accra International Conference Center, which was opened by the President yesterday. And this data is not put out by me. I am only adding what we know and what we think should be done. 500,000 people. What we want to see by the end of today, and I'm sure by the end of today we'll carry our cameras and go to them, because at the end of every dialogue there has to be a report. We want to see the report and see the implementable measures that have been put in place or have been suggested to create an expanded economy to be able to accommodate 500,000. Right. Right, so sorry for the little break. We'll come back to this data. But we'll have Dr. Patrick, assuming all of us know him. We've been hosting him. He's a senior lecturer joining us. And Doc, if you can hear me, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. And welcome to Business Edge on Good Afternoon, Ghana.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to viewers. Thanks for having me.
I hope you're doing very well.
I'm well by God's grace. I trust you are well.
I am doing very well as well, and I hope you have monitored the National Economic Dialogue from yesterday and some of the data and some of the issues that have popped up from yesterday.
Yes, the dialogue is still going on. We are still here. I think it's now time for the last plenary where the outcomes of the deliberation should be presented.
Doc, let me ask you straight. What are some of your expectations? What are you looking at? And which areas or sectors are you looking at? And what solutions are you looking at from those sectors? Are you looking at the area of energy, power issues, and all of the things, the rising debt stock in the power sector? Are you looking at employment? Are you looking at the cocoa sector? Are you looking at the broader picture of agri? What exactly are you looking at or concentrating on?
Well, I think the way the dialogue has been structured, there are 6 themes. So I think all the specific issues and sectors you are mentioning are being tagged. So, for instance, the energy issues and the cocoa was taken up as policy and structural reforms. There's a sector on growth with depth, which addresses some of the issues related to employment. That's actually the group that I participated in. So I think I don't want to preempt what has been discussed. I mean, I'm sure you know the caliber of people who have been present here, and they are very, very, very competent people who have been discussing. So I can't really preempt what people will say, but I think we expect that the solutions that will be professed and the recommendations will be very practical, and that they are actionable that the government can take on.
But Doc, I want you to tell me about your personal preferable solutions, because a mirage or a number of these problems that we keep talking about as a country and how they are to be solved. So for you, and for the fact that the budget reading is coming up on the 11th of March, there are things I'm sure you are expecting to see in the budget. Of course, those things that will happen in the economic dialogue should be seen in the budget. But for you, I mean, we have followed you. You are an expert. Tell us, what do you want to see? Cutting of e-levy, what specifically?
Well, I definitely would like to see e-levy taken off. I don't know about the other ones. I think, but it shouldn't be just about taking off some taxes. But at the same time, you want to see a more sustainable way of looking at public finances. So far, the government has done some work reducing expenditure through reducing the number of ministers. The finance minister has promised they will reduce the number of appointees and workers at the government, at the presidency. But, I think the revenue side should be more broad-based. I think based on what the finance minister has said during his vetting and other things, you expect that they will rationalize the tax system, reduce some of the exemptions. Those are the things that we expect. But I think for me, I would just want to see that there's a strategy. There's a clear strategy that, when you see it is credible and you can trust that it will resolve our long-term problems. I think that's the biggest thing I want to see.
But then, one would say that these taxes, which we are technically almost describing as nuisance taxes. I can mention the betting tax, for example. We have just spoken about e-levy. If they are cut, the country will be in a fix, at least for the next 1 or 2 years, before we find our balance and we find a way out. Should they be cut? I mean, for you as an expert.
I will cut e-levy without blinking. I think it was always a terrible idea in the first place. And it should go. But, back to your broader point, if you put all those 3 taxes together, the amount that they are going to fetch us, according to the projection based on even the IMF program, is not more than 5% of our revenue for the year. Now, are there ways that we can cut them and then still find alternative sources of revenue? Yes. Look, if the exemptions alone that we give, if we cut it by 1/3, that will more than raise the amount that we are talking about getting from those taxes. However, I've always said that the betting tax is not one I will take off. I think that it's one that we should look at beyond the revenue to give us. It's not going to give us much anyway, but I think that we have to think about using our tax policy to achieve other objectives apart from revenue. I think the rate of addiction to betting and the long-term potential damage to our young people is something that we should consider, and not just the revenue potential. But to the broader question about can we cut these taxes and still make the government ends meet? Yes, we can. There are many other untapped revenue potentials, even VAT alone. VAT alone, we are not even collecting more than 60% of what we are supposed to collect. So if you improve the enforcement in that side and they improve the compliance, that's more than you raise multiples of what you give up of those taxes. The other thing you should understand is when the previous administration said moving the economy away from taxation to production, if especially e-levy, which is a disincentive to some kind of financial activity, if you remove it, it may be able to generate enough economic activity and enough jobs to ensure that you may end up collecting more revenue than even imposition of those taxes. So I think there are many opportunities and there are other ways to do that. We just, see which ones that which course the finance minister will take. I think through the betting, he has already given hints that some of the points that have been raised consistently, the property rates, the exemptions, the financial leakages, even the illicit financial flows out of our country. If you're able to seal even a half of that, we raise multiples of what we get from those taxes.
So I'll come back and ask you about that fiscal discipline, because yesterday President John Dramani Mahama had insisted on how he is going to ensure fiscal discipline on the part of his appointees, especially those are the SOEs. But let me quickly take off the issue about road tolls. It's been in the discussion, but very subtly. If you were the finance minister today and you are reading the budget on Tuesday, will you reintroduce road tolls? I mean, looking at the fact that we have to cut some things, but we still need much more revenue.
Oh, I think the road tolls should. Everybody is paying cash. That technology is there. And then, of course, we have to raise the toll levels. I think the levels of the toll that are being paid, especially by the big trucks, there are all these huge trucks crawling on our roads, causing a lot of damage. And then they are, as we talk, they are not paying anything. A lot of these trucks are moving upward to our neighboring countries up north. They are breaking down the roads, but we are not collecting anything. The road tolls have to be back. I hope that is one of the first things that he will bring back, and that he is going to be technology based. I've heard people say you should pay it at registration. I don't think that's a good idea at all.
Right.
The tolls, the amount you pay should be based on your usage of the road. So if you let somebody go and pay one time at the point of registration or renewal of vehicle registration, then what's the point? Let's make sure that when you are going, you can, now we have mobile money, we have electronic payment. For the majority of the people, you can give them a card. So they load their funds on it. They just pass through the toll and it reads and deduct. And then the people who don't want to use those electronic means, let them queue and then pay the tolls. So I think as for the tolls, it definitely should be back.
Okay, so I'm coming live to your end at the International Conference Center. But let me ask you this briefly. Do you think on the issues of fuel, this is diverting from what we are talking about, deregulation should be cut or should be reviewed? They should be looked at again.
Well, I think, I don't know why we want to undo the deregulation. I think
because it's one of the major issues. Fuel prices are always going up, and government comes back to tell us they don't have a hand, but it's always politicized. When NDC was in opposition, they said government can do something about it, but NDC is in power now, and we have visited the issue of the fact that it is a deregulated policy. Nobody can really touch it.
So let's separate the deregulation from the multitude and multiplicity of taxes on fuel. The two are not the same. Mm-hmm. You can decide to have the deregulation and the government can remove a lot of the taxes and that will help bring the prices down.
Right.
I think the whole idea is that, before then, what we have is there was a lot of subsidy because the fuel prices were very slow to adjust when international prices are going up. And because of that, ultimately, the debt will be on the government. In the current regime that we have, if prices are going up, we pay higher price at the pump. The bigger problem is the number of taxes that we have imposed. Well, I don't think the real problem is with the deregulation necessarily. It's just the number of taxes that we've imposed, and that's what we have to re-examine, whether we have to remove some of them. And of course, even in periods where the prices, global prices are coming down, because the currency is not doing well, we could still see our fuel price go up. So I think improving the overall management of the macroeconomy and ensuring that the currency is stable will also go a long way to ensure some level of stability in the prices.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Patrick, assuming a senior lecturer, of course, an economist also at the University of Ghana Business School. He's currently there at the Accra International Conference Center participating in the plenary sessions, as I explained to you early on. We're expecting lots more suggestions from them to be captured as part of the reportage from the dialogue. And one of the things we are looking at, or we will be looking at in the course of events, is the ports, or the charges, taxes at the port. What happened to the luxurious taxes? Those who are importing their cars, and there is a bit of a tax on some cars, which are increased because they are classified as luxurious taxes. What will Atufosin say about that? Let me go quickly to the Accra International Conference Center. I have my colleague Dominic there, and I understand that he is currently with the Venerable Joe Jackson to talk to us about the current state of the economy and the suggestions they are making. Dominic, if you are ready, let's have you now.
Of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, and also the Finance Minister, projecting into how we can revive our economy. The problem so far, and also policy interventions that will really set, Ghana straight to a path where we can be free from economic hardship and also stand in our financial situations. Now, day two here is also set to, have sector meetings, and now the sector meetings are done. We have industry players and also, people in the, business sector also seeing to it that possibly they can discuss one or two things and also converge at the main auditorium and see how solutions will be amended in order to see the way forward. We have with us our own father, Mr. Joe Jackson, to discuss matters with regarding finance and also some projections made by the Finance Minister and also President Mahama. You're live on Metro News.
Good. It's good. Good afternoon to your listeners. Listen, to understand where we are, we have to start off from really the Finance Minister's presentation. We've known that things were bad, but I'll be honest with you, to hear it put in such stark terms, backed with data, graphical data, it was like you're being drenched with a bucket of extremely cold water. And then you come to the realization that, you know what? You know the one reason why I can't be optimistic about this whole process and these last 2 days. It's simply because we are in such a bad place that just maybe, even if the politicians were to lose vim, the reminder of how bad we are will rekindle the fire. Because if we do nothing, the end result will be chaos. So, to everybody who says, haven't we seen this all before? Haven't we been to Senchi before? Haven't we done this before? Is this a cosmetic exercise? I say to them, where we are, we cannot afford a cosmetic exercise. Where we are, we have to believe that the consensus building and the intake of new ideas, that's right. It has to work. It has to work because we are at rock bottom. It has to work because we really must believe and have hope. That's where I am.
Talk to us about President Mahama said something yesterday that really took to the hearts of people. President Mahama said that every single city that will be spent under his jurisdiction, under his watch, must be spent or utilized tangibly and also judiciously. Everybody will be accounted for everything that everybody spends. We've seen that in past governments, like people speak this talks and then possibly sugarcoat it, and when they come to power, it's like we don't see action. We saw what happened to Seglemi when another government came to power, and they have to investigate into it to see where we can find the culprits and also sanction them and all that. Now, President Mahama is giving us a whole new picture, and the picture is every single city under his watch must be spent judiciously to cut costs. What do you make of it?
I take a deep breath. And I take a deep breath because the issue of corruption, that evil thing, that cancer, has eaten into the fabric of this society. And so it will need a president who will stand up and maybe even put his own presidency at risk in order for him to meet the standards he's described. We pray for President Mahama. He's our president. Even the Bible says, pray for your leaders. And we pray that he will have the strength to do what he says he will do.
How do we sustain value for money under this administration?
There are different ways. Procurement, single source, even, and remember that the problem is not just at the top. The problem runs right through. Of course, our Ghanaian proverb says, "Enam pra a profinity," to wit. If the fish goes bad, it starts with the head. So if the head is good, then there is some hope that it will transmit down the chain. And because you see, behind every bad decision we've taken in this economy is self-interest rather than the public interest. The number of bad decisions we've taken because of ignorance and misinformation may be tiny. The real bad decisions are due to just self-interest, corruption, or whatever name you call it. So when you get a leader who says, I will do it, we have to be cautiously optimistic, and we have to encourage him to do what he says he will do.
Speaking to yesterday, we had an encounter with the employment minister, and he said that unemployment will be solved comprehensively. President Mahama, that is one of his core policies in solving unemployment issues in the country. Now, when he came to power, there's been revocation of appointments. People have taken it to heart and all that. When you are cutting costs, we are looking at also people finding job to do and also being able to sustain their lives and also do well. Possibly they won't entangle themselves in corrupt activities. What do you make of it? How do we solve unemployment situation completely?
First and foremost, let me be clear on this. No government can by itself directly provide enough employment for the people of Ghana. Yes, and I will repeat. No government by itself can provide enough employment for the people of Ghana. Employment will come from SMEs. Employment will come from the private sector. So those of us who are looking, all of us are looking to the central government to provide employment. We are misguided. We are doing the wrong thing. We should be looking at you and I, that common man, that lady who has a hairdressing salon who employs 2 more people, that photographer who takes another assistant, that factory that employs another 20 hands. That's where employment is going to come from. So employment will become from making things easier for the private sector to operate and grow. Employment will come because the private sector can access finance so that they can invest in the business. Employment will come because the private sector will not be harassed by bureaucrats. Employment will come because the private sector is paying its share of its taxes. That can enable everything be level and done.
Under a 7-key policy, when the finance minister projected, you have said it, finance minister projected a 7-key policy interventions. We saw the small-scale businesses being factored in there. Now, President Mahama has also given a call onto agribusiness, growing what we eat and also producing what we're wearing, what we produce here in Ghana. Now, private sector, people in farming have taken it to heart that the funding aspect of it always becomes a problem. How is this government going to ensure that?
You see, I'll be honest with you. Again, none of us should just look to the central government to give us money to run our businesses. That can't be right. We have to raise our own money. Private sector has to step in. And it is by giving institutions, empowering our local institutions, our local financial institutions, that will be able to fund the small scale and private sector. The foreign ones, they won't come and go to the rural areas and do it for us. It's our rural banks. It's our microfinance institution. It's our non-banks. It's our savings and loans that will do it. And again, it is not going to come from central government. In any case, this central government you are talking about, the coffers are empty. Ghana is still broke. It hasn't changed in the 60 days that this government is about to clock. So why do we still look to the central government to create employment, to provide financing? No, it is the private sector that imbued with new energy, imbued with renewed hope, that can deliver the new Ghana.
Well, before I let you jump off, thank you very much. The 4-year space for this administration, is there a possibility of reviving the economy completely?
Listen, this economy can be revived in 4 years. Really? What to do is not rocket science. It is the will to do it. If the present president, His Excellency John Mahama, and his cabinet and his management team have the will to do it, you'll be smiling after 4 years.
Well, thank you very much, Joe Jackson, for having us. And like you said, this economy will definitely do well if President Mahama and his cabinet do so to ensure that whatever that we need in this country is fetched for, and then we do what is right and acceptable. The sector meetings are done now. We are still engaging more people to find out. So we have...
Also, thank you very much, Dominic, from the Accra International Conference Center with the National Economic Dialogue. We are rounding up this show. Let me quickly take you through the presentation. The base was set, the history was given, and now the focus areas as they are looking at. Number one is enhancing domestic revenue mobilization, balancing equity. We spoke about equity. I spoke to you about how there is imbalance between the southern part and the northern part of Ghana. Simplicity and efficiency. Number two is pursuing a qualitative fiscal consolidation. Ring fencing. That's an important term in financing. Growth, enhancing spending, and social programs. Number three is ensuring compliance with public financial management, popularly known as the PFM, and this is requisite to state-owned enterprises and public procurement laws. President Mahama mentioned it yesterday. The issue of sole sourcing, I'm sure, will bring the Public Procurement Authority and the Institute to come and discuss sole sourcing issues. We've been doing that on the bottom line, though. Implementing robust commitment controls to maximize value for money and ensure fiscal discipline. Number four is enhancing the efficiency of public spending and social programs and public infrastructure. The events and how much are spent on each event when there are government officials. Number five is phasing out costly, regressive, and ineffective subsidies. The Ghana Free Zones Authority, the subsidies that are given to companies that are establishing here, and when they spend 10 years, they fold up and re-establish again. What kind of subsidies? Are we giving same to local and indigenous companies to expand and to grow? Seydou Agongo, I'm sure they played his bite yesterday to you, the fact that governments don't usually support local businesses. Now to the energy sector, while increasing targeted social programs. Number six is reforming state-owned enterprises to create contingent liabilities and quasi-fiscal spending. The issues of Electricity Company of Ghana and Ghana Cocoa Board, the debts in both institutions, how they operate. I'm sure we'll single out each of them. Luckily for us, we have Dr. Randiabi at Ghana Cocoa Board. So we'll get him one of these days, and we'll be talking about the borrowing and how they relate to the farmers and the payments to the farmers as well. Strengthening Ghana's fiscal framework by redesigning the fiscal rule, strengthening automatic stabilizers while containing budget rigidities and revenue earmarking. So what we will do with this slide, this particular slide, is that on Tuesday, the 11th of March, we would match this against the budget. And we would match the report that will come out tonight also against the budget, which will be read by the finance minister on the floor of Parliament on Tuesday. And we'll do analysis with it. We'll find Satakwe and all of those financial experts, the professors and the people that understand. We'll get onto the street as well and also gauge how people are taking in the budget that will come. So that is it for the show this afternoon. I almost said tonight because of the bottom line always. But what is happening is that I spoke to you about the National Association of Concerned Small-Scale Miners. You also know about the issue of Cocoa Board. They have issued a release and they have endorsed the Gold Board to ensure fair pricing for small-scale miners. So what they want here is that instead of everybody being able to sell their produce, the Gold Board, which is being set up by the PMMC, headed by Sami Jemfi, the erstwhile communications, I think he still is anyway, communications director of the National Democratic Congress, they support it. So that when they all send their gold, it will not be only Newmont, it will not be only Ashanti Gold Mines, it will not be only the huge companies that would have power and authority over the prices that are set. Well, gold prices are the same, but they feel that there should be a level and a good playing ground for everybody. So that's the release here. Unfortunately, because of time, we are unable to read it for you this afternoon, but you can get a copy of it on social media. And it will come on the news tonight in business. So this has been the introductory session. Unfortunately, we couldn't give you Sandra to come talk about how the segments are going to go. But this has been the introduction session of Business Edge on Good Afternoon Ghana. Take note that every Tuesday, every Thursday, I'll be right on your screens presenting to you, having discussions, having interviews, and doing analysis of this sort for you on Business Edge Good Afternoon Ghana. We'll still make sure Sandra comes in next week to explain to us what will happen. But take note, on Tuesday, the budget reading will happen, and we will be live from Parliament. We'll present it to you. Keep your dial right on Metro TV. Good afternoon.
The Bible is not a textbook like chemistry textbook. It's a spirit. There are no controversies. Righteousness is defined by God. What he says you are is what you are. There's no teaching in the scriptures that will be left untaught.
Join the Good Life Devotion with Dr. David Bindon on this channel to receive biblically authoritative teachings which will usher you into exhibiting the divine life here on earth. The Good Life Devotion shows every Monday to Friday from 11 to 11:30 p.m. Don't miss the special weekend edition